Make your way to a comfortable seated position. There's a quote by Eckhart Tolle. Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. A good place to practice this is right on the mat. As we come into each pose, think about staying present, staying right here, right now. So often I find my mind wandering, thinking about something that happened in the past, either worrying about it or loving it or disliking it. But that takes my mind away from the present, the now. We also sometimes worry about the future or look forward to something that's going to happen tomorrow. But again, we have today. So take this moment, this practice, to stay present, stay in the now, and enjoy what's here right now. As you're sitting comfortably, if you prefer, you can sit on a block if you have one. That elevates your hips and gives your hips a little more space. But as we sit for another minute or so, notice your inhale and observe your exhale. If you're sitting cross-legged, uncross your legs and cross them the other way, so now the other leg is in front. Continue to breathe. Your eyes can be open or closed. Allow your chest to expand on the inhale and relax your shoulders as you exhale. Just a couple more breaths here. Now uncross your legs and have your feet just slightly wider than your hips. Let your knees roll to the right, and now adjust each leg, so have your right leg at a 90-degree angle. The knee is at a 90-degree angle, right foot is flexed. And then bring your left knee so it's touching or almost touching your right heel. And now adjust your left leg so it's also at a 90-degree angle, foot flexed. And now gently bring your hands to the right. You might stay here, so from the side it just looks like this. Or if it's comfortable for you, you can lower onto your forearms. Maybe twist a little deeper to the right if that's right for you. Option to let your head dangle. Or you can make fists with your hands and stack them, resting your forehead on your fists. Alternatively, if you have a bolster, you might place a bolster under your torso. Just breathe here. By staying still, it can be harder to let your mind be still. Your mind might wander. Just notice if it wanders. And then come back to your breath. Come back to now, right here, right now. Notice how your body feels. If your head is facing one side and you're resting your cheek on your fists or on a bolster, just turn and face the other way if that's comfortable for you. We'll be here for another minute or so. If it feels right for you, you can twist a little deeper to the right, or stay where you are. And just a couple more breaths here. And then slowly placing your hands on the mat. Come on up. And then just bring your feet back to center and swing your feet over to the other side. So again, left knee is at a 90-degree angle. So your thigh and shin are at a 90-degree angle, left foot is flexed. Now bring the right knee to touching or almost touching that left heel, and then adjust the right leg so it's also at a 90-degree angle with the foot flexed. And then gently walk your hands to the left. And it might just be a very small twist, or maybe on this side it feels right to twist a little deeper. And then just hang out here. Maybe your forearms rest on the mat on this side. Maybe your head reaches the floor, or you stack your fists. Or again, you can place a bolster under your torso and rest your whole body right on the bolster. Just be sure that you start when it feels very comfortable, but invite your body to passively open into the pose. Maybe dive a little deeper in a very gentle, passive way. Think of letting go. Again, continue to stay present. Our minds are often very busy. That's a natural part of what they do. But if your mind is wandering, just come back to what you're doing. Notice your breath. Notice how your body feels. If you're resting a cheek on one side, just turn and face the other way now. We'll be here for just a few more breaths. And then gently place your hands on the mat and come on up. Now, keeping both knees bent, bring the soles of your feet together. If it's more comfortable for you, feel free to sit on a block. It helps elevate your hips. And with your knees bent, the soles of your feet together. If your hips are feeling tight at all, just have your hands behind you on the mat. Let them rest gently behind you. And with your hands, just softly invite your torso to come forward. If it's available to you, walk your hands forward and grab your feet or your ankles. And just hinging at the hips, let your shoulders and chest come forward. If you prefer, you can keep your spine straight, just offering your chest forward. Or for a slightly different stretch, play with rounding your back and letting your head lower in the direction of your feet. Relax your jaw. Just passively let go. Yin is about inviting the body to naturally soften and open without forcing. Think of relaxing the muscles, relaxing the joints. And relax your face, your jaw, your forehead. Think of letting go, letting your knees open a little wider. Just letting go. Coming back to now. Scan your body. Notice where it might be holding on to any tension. Visualize you inhaling and breathing into that area of tension. And as you exhale, invite that tension to dissolve, release, and let go. We'll be here for another minute or so. Try to stay with it. And just a couple more breaths. And then very slowly, gently, come on back up. Bring your knees together and come on to all fours, coming onto your hands and knees. As you inhale, lower your chest and belly. Think about tilting your pelvis. And just hang out here, taking advantage of the extra space in your chest to inhale a little deeper. And as you exhale, soften more deeply into this stretch. As you exhale, lift your spine up, rounding your back like a cat. Maybe getting a little stretch in your upper back between your shoulders. Breathe here. You're welcome to stay here, or you can stay in the pose of arching your back. Or if you prefer, as you exhale, round your back. And as you inhale, arch your back. Just to see what feels best on your body. When we can stop and listen, our bodies tell us so much about what's going on, how we're feeling. Discomfort can warn us of things to avoid. And just a couple more breaths wherever you are. And then come back to a neutral spine. Come onto the tops of your feet. So point your toes so the tops of your feet are on the mat. We're coming into child's pose. You can either have your knees together and lower your hips over your heels. Maybe rest your forehead on the mat or on your arms or on fists. Another nice way of coming into child's pose is keep your toes touching, but take your knees as wide as the mat. And then lower your hips over your heels. And then lower your head towards either the mat or make fists. Or if your knees are wide, it's sometimes comfortable to rest your chest on a bolster. Come in whatever version of child's pose is most agreeable to your body. And think about releasing into the pose, letting go. And still staying present. Simply breathe. Let your hips feel heavy and release a little more onto your heels. Relaxing your jaw, your hips, your shoulders. Soften into the pose. A couple more breaths here. And then slowly place your hands on the mat. Remove any bolsters or blocks you're using. Lift your hips up over your knees and just bring your knees in so they're hip distance apart. For this next pose, the toes can be tucked or the tops of the feet on the mat. Keep your hips directly above your knees. And then keeping your hips right where they are, walk your arms forward, stretch as far forward as you can. And then soften your chest in the direction of the mat. Maybe your forehead reaches the mat. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Just think of opening the chest, letting it lower in the direction of the mat. If it's more comfortable, you can rest your forehead on a block. The hips may want to come forward or back, but just adjust them so that they stay roughly above the knees. In Anahatasana, this is heart opening pose. Just breathe. Think of letting go and softening into the pose. Be here for another minute or so. And just one more breath. And now just lift your forehead up and then lower right onto your belly on the mat. Have the tops of your feet on the mat and have each hand fingers spread wide, and then walk your elbows forward past your shoulders. So start with your elbows far forward enough that the lowest part of your rib cage can stay on the mat. Forearms are parallel to each other, elbows are shoulder width apart. So from the front, not sure if I can do this, it will look maybe on your belt, excuse my feet, it will look like this. Hopefully that helps. And so pressing your forearms into the mat, tops of the feet on the mat, push your belly into the mat and lift your chest forward and up. Think shoulders back. Now by keeping the lowest rib cage on the mat, that protects your lower back. If your low back feels healthy and strong and you'd like to go a little deeper, walk your elbows back till they're almost under your shoulders. And now send your chest forward and shoulders back, and breathe. This is Sphinx pose. Think soft shoulders and open chest. Be here for 4 or 5 more breaths. And then slowly lower on all the way down to the mat. Place your hands under your shoulders. Tuck your toes. Just lift up through tabletop and then walk your feet forward to your hands. Come onto your feet. Have your knees bent as much as you need to and fold forward. Your hands might dangle, maybe they reach the mat. If you have any issues with your low back at all and it's more comfortable, you can also rest your forearms on your thighs. Or you can place your hands on blocks at any height. Knees can be as bent as you need to here. This is, in yin, we call this dangling pose. You might let your hands dangle or cross your arms and let your elbows dangle. If you'd like a little stretch on your hamstrings and on your calves, play with straightening one leg and then the other, maybe both. Perhaps think of lifting your hips up higher and then exhaling, fold more deeply. Or let this be a passive forward fold. And just a couple more breaths here. And now turn and face the side of your mat and take your feet nice and wide. Feet parallel to each other. Fold forward again. You might still want your hands on blocks. Or maybe you want to cross your arms and let your elbows dangle. Or just simply place your hands on the mat. Staying present with the pose, notice how it feels on your body. Check in with your feet, each leg, inner thigh, hamstring, your shoulders and arms. And breathe here. Think of letting go. Now the next pose I'm going to offer is optional. See how it feels. You're welcome to stay right here in this nice wide-legged forward fold. Or for a little stretch on each inner thigh, the adductor, walk your hands over to your left foot and press that right foot into the mat. We'll just be here for 5 or 6 breaths. For a deeper stretch, really press that right foot into the mat. Or just stay in the wide-legged forward fold if that's right for you today. And then walk your hands to center and bend your right knee, pressing that left foot firmly into the mat. And then slowly come on back to center and walk your feet together. Come on to the front of the mat. If you have blocks, just keep them handy. Placing both hands on the mat, step your right foot back as far as you can. And then lower that right knee to the mat. And then softly let the hips come forward. The right toes can be tucked over the top of the foot on the mat. Just think of sending the hips forward, softening, releasing. Try to stay present with how this feels. So a couple more breaths. And then tuck the right toes and step the right foot forward to beside the left. And now step the left foot back as far as you can, lowering that left knee to the mat and softening the hips forward. Left toes can be tucked or top of the foot on the mat. Just think of releasing the hips forward. Just a few more breaths here. And then slowly step the right foot back to beside the left, coming onto the tops of your feet. Lower your hips over your heels and rest for just a moment or so back in child's pose. This pose is always available to you anytime you need a rest. And then slowly place your hands on the mat. Come on up to a seated position. Straighten your right leg out to the side, keeping that right foot flexed. Bring the sole of the left foot to the right inner thigh. To protect your low back, if you have issues with your low back, bring that left foot a little closer to the knee. It just creates a little space. Now gently twist to the right so your body is facing your straight leg. With your left hand to the outside of the right leg, let your body fold forward, maybe walking your hands forward. If this is too much and it's more comfortable, you can also start with your hands behind you, and with your hands push your chest forward. Just check in with what is best for your body, where you get the most benefit without overdoing it. As you exhale, invite your body to soften a little more. You might notice after a couple minutes it suddenly releases just a touch. That's your fascia loosening and softening and opening. Think of relaxing your jaw, your spine, your shoulders. Letting go just a little bit more. Just a few more breaths here. And then slowly make your way back up. And now straighten your left leg so both legs are straight in a V position. Reach each hand under each thigh and internally rotate each thigh, Think of widening your sit bones. Aim to have your legs straight. If you need to, you can have your knees slightly bent. And feet flex, each foot vertical. If this is really uncomfortable, you can either sit on a block here, or you can start the pose with your hands behind you, and with your hands push your torso forward. If it's available to you, walk your hands forward. See wherever you get the most benefit from the pose. If you prefer, you can rest your hands on a block, or you might even rest your forehead on a block at any height. Just hang out here. Think of releasing, letting go, while staying present in this moment now. Be here for a few more breaths. And slowly make your way back up. Bend your right leg and bring the sole of your right foot to your left inner thigh. And again, keep that foot a little closer to your knee if you want to protect your low back. Otherwise, you can bring the foot in closer. Just see what feels best for you. On this side, you might start with your hands on the mat behind you, but gently twist to the left so your torso is facing your straight leg. And with your hands, push your chest forward. Or you might walk your hands forward on this side. Option to place the right arm to the outside of the left leg. And just hang out here. Think of releasing, letting go with every exhale. It's easy for your mind to wander when your body's in stillness. Our minds often want a task, something to do, something to think about. If your mind is wandering, just focus on your breath. Come back to how your body's feeling and stay present in this practice. Be here for a few more breaths. And slowly make your way back up. Now, you can face the length of your mat, and with your hands behind you, feet on the floor, Lean forward until you can rest your torso on your thighs. And now from here, place each hand behind each knee. Walk your feet forward a few inches, trying to keep that contact between the torso and the thighs. You can lift your toes up off the mat. Walk your feet forward a little bit more. Try to keep the contact. And breathe here. If you can, walk your feet a little further, still trying to keep most of the contact. Think of letting go. You can rest your hands on the mat if you prefer. And then you may eventually lose the contact between your belly and your thighs and straighten your legs. If you need to, you can start excuse me, with your hands behind you on the mat, or you might walk your hands forward down your legs, maybe reaching your shins, your ankles, maybe your toes. And just hang out here a few breaths. Think of softening and letting go into this pose. You'll be here for 5 or 6 more breaths. So as you exhale, think of releasing more deeply into this fold. And then gently and slowly make your way back up. Now keep your right leg straight. Bending your left leg, place the left foot on the mat. Cross that left foot over the right. With your right arm, gently hug your left knee. Take a deep inhale here to lengthen your spine. As you exhale, reach your left hand out to the side and behind you and gently twist to the left. As you inhale, allow your spine to lengthen, releasing the twist just slightly. And as you exhale, softly invite your body to twist a little deeper. Be here for just a few more breaths. And slowly make your way back to center. Bending both knees, bring the soles of the feet together and let your knees open wide. Coming back into Baddha Konasana, or butterfly pose. Have your legs in a diamond shape. Maybe you have your hands on the mat behind you, or maybe you reach forward and grab your ankles. We'll just be here for a minute or so. But notice how this feels now compared to at the beginning of the class. Maybe it feels the same, maybe you feel a little more open and softer. Just observe. And just a couple more breaths. And then slowly lift back up. And straighten your right leg, placing your left foot on the mat with your left knee bent. Cross your left foot over your right leg. I think I've done this wrong. We already did this side, I'm sorry. Straightening both legs, now bend your right leg. Cross your right foot over the left. With your left arm, hug your right knee. Reach your right arm out to the side and gently place it on the mat behind you, gently twisting to the right. Inhaling deeply as you lengthen your spine. Exhaling completely as you soften into the twist a little deeper. Just a couple more breaths here. And gently come on back to center. And now with your left hand, hold your right ankle. I'll show you from the side. Bring that right ankle back as close to that left hip as you can, keeping that foot flexed. With your right hand, reach to the outside of your left knee. And then with your left hand, lower that right knee somewhere on top of your left. Keeping that right foot flexed, that just helps protect the knee. You might start with your hands on the mat behind you and push your chest forward, or maybe you walk your hands forward. We'll just be here for a minute or so. Try to stay with it. Trying to stay present. And then just slowly come on back up. Straighten your right leg. And now bend your left leg. Cross that left foot over your right. With your right hand, grab the left ankle. Bring that left heel back as close to that right hip as you can, keeping that foot flexed. And with your hands, left hand, or either hand, lower that left knee on top of the right. Maybe on this side, you start with your hands on the mat behind you, or walk your hands forward. Work towards having the right foot vertical. Maybe flexing those toes towards you. Can you soften into the pose just a little bit more? And slowly come on up. Uncross your legs, place both feet on the mat, and slide your hips forward and come right onto your back. Lift your feet up off the mat and bring the soles of your feet together. And with each hand, run it down each shin, grabbing maybe your shins, the outside of your feet or your ankles. Push your knees away from you. And just rest in Supta Baddha Konasana. Think of pushing your knees away from you as you draw your feet in towards you. This version of the pose supports your spine completely. Your spine is fully supported by the mat beneath you. You can stay in alignment. Now with each hand and each foot, reach your feet out to the side, knees bent, feet apart away from each other, and rock side to side, and happy baby. And then gently lower both feet to the mat, knees bent. Place your arms on the mat away from your body in a T position. Slide your hips to the right and bring your feet together. Let your knees roll to the left. You can, for a very gentle twist, you can turn and look over your left hand. Eyes can be open or closed. For a deeper twist, turn your gaze and look over your right arm. For an even deeper twist, take your lowest leg and cross it over your top leg. Just find what's most comfortable for your body. Think of relaxing and letting go. And then slowly bring your knees back to center. Slide your hips to the left, bringing the feet together. Let your knees roll to the right, and gaze can either turn and look over your right arm or maybe over your left arm this side. Option to cross the low leg on top of the top. Just a couple more breaths. Gently bring your knees and gaze back to center. The next pose is Shavasana. If you wish to use an eye pillow or get a blanket or sweater, you can get them now. When you're ready, just let your arms rest on the mat a few inches away from your body. And one by one, straighten each leg. Maybe your feet are slightly wider than your hips. If you have a bolster and you want to place it under your knees, that's sometimes comfortable for your back. And take a few breaths here to settle in. Make any small adjustments you need on your body to be fully comfortable. Maybe soften your gaze or close your eyes if that's right for you. Take a few deep breaths. As you inhale, allow your body to feel light and buoyant. Let your chest expand. And as you exhale, invite your body to melt into the mat and rest and let go. And come into complete stillness in the present moment and rest in Shavasana. Softly allow your breath to deepen. Gently move your fingers and toes, bringing movement to your arms and legs. Maybe stretching your arms up over your head and stretching your whole body. When you're ready, gently hug your knees to your chest and roll over to your right side. Take as much time as you need to come up to a comfortable seated position. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.